Mr. Johnson, Felipe Luis beer in the court. Motherfucker, Felipe Luis beer. Yeah, in the court.
Radio Free and Smith, episode 223. So the other day, I was on one of my friend's streams talking about Earache Records.
어플로 주문을 하던가?
If you missed it, don't worry, there's a link to an archive in the description. But basically, they were/are one of the most important labels for death metal and grindcore. They put out all the classic Carcass albums, all the good Morbid Angel albums, all the good Entombed albums, you know, that kind of stuff. But the band that kind of initially put them on the map was this band called Napalm Death, a band that I have enjoyed for years and years. They were one of the first extreme sounding bands I've ever heard. However, the album that I like a lot from them, the one that I like the most probably, is somewhat controversial. A lot of people, especially fans of older Napalm Death, will tell you that Harmony Corruption is like a sellout album and that it's not really like real Napalm Death. Now, I enjoy Scum just as much as the next guy, or at least the first half. I mean, I've been known to unironically listen to like Gore Beyond Necropsy and shit. And even I am not going to attempt to defend side B of Scum, but that A side, great album. And then From Enslavement to Obliteration, obviously that's also a great album, that's a classic. But I tell you what, man, Harmony Corruption, that's a good album. I mean, check out this fucking groove riff right here. That is really good stuff. You wouldn't have like Decapitated second album if it wasn't for this. This is like what Fear Factory would sound like if they didn't suck. The grooves on this are incredibly powerful. And don't worry, there's still some grindcore in here, even though it's mostly death metal. See? That's grindcore. That's good grindcore. It's fast, it's nasty.
It's sick, it's piss, it's revolting, it's insulting.
There are a lot of people who are like, yeah, that's not the real Napalm Death. Not even just because of this massive stylistic change to where now they're basically just playing death metal, but because there's really no remnants of like the original Napalm Death lineup going on apart from the drummer Mick Harris. For instance, this is the first album with vocalist Barney Greenway. Nowadays he goes in Napalm Death, but originally he went in Benediction. On guitars, we have Mitch Harris, not to be confused with Mick Harris, and originally he was in the band Righteous Pigs, a band not a lot of people have actually listened to despite the fact that Phil Anselmo is always wearing their shirt. As you can hear right now, their music is kind of hard to describe. It's this weird blend of 80s like first wave Celtic Frost style black metal and hardcore that sort of accidentally turns into some primitive type of early grindcore. And honestly, it's really damn good. I should just do like a whole Mitch Harris episode, talk about Righteous Pigs, Meat Hook Seed, his contributions to Goat Lord, that kind of thing. Also on guitars, we have Jesse Pintado, who is from Terrorizer. We all know what Terrorizer sounds like. Fucking, it's the Fear of Napalm band, dude. It sounds like Master if you sped it up a whole lot, made the songs shorter, and had Pete Sandoval drum on top of it. Still has a powerful groove to it despite it clearly being like early death grind stuff. But yeah, basically the whole band, apart from Mick Harris, the drummer, isn't really 80s Napalm Death anymore.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because even before Harmony Corruption, Napalm Death was already this weird, chaotic womb of Creatia that spat out members all the time that would then go on to form other bands. Original guitarist, Justin Broderick, he's the Godflesh guy. Then they had Bill Steer on guitars before he focused on Carcass full-time. They had Lee Dorian doing vocals, and he leaves and starts Cathedral. So honestly, that's nothing new. But out of all these like bands that spun off of Napalm Death or fed members into Napalm Death, you might have noticed I missed one. Good old Shane Embury. Now, I don't want to sound too much like a mean girl fashionista. I think I might just have gotten way too into K-pop, so I'm always thinking about hairstyles and outfits. But seriously, dude, Shane Embury, world famous for having the worst hair in death metal. Holy shit.
Look
like at the top of his head.
Also, special shout out to Barney Greenway in the early 90s. Love the bangs, very Momo. But yeah, this Shane Embury character, he's been Napalm Death's bassist forever. He actually shows up as a guitarist on side B of Scum. He also had a band he was doing prior to his extended tenure in Napalm Death. And the name of that band is Unseen Terror, the band that we will be covering this week on episode 223 of Radio Innsmouth.
그리고 진짜 제가 해보고 싶은 게
I mean, Radio Free Innsmouth. That is what I meant to say. I was just testing you.
아니 촬영 같은 거 하다 보면은
So these Unseen Terror characters kind of started out as a fusion of a couple bands. One of them being the very chaotic, nasty, and slightly ahead of its time death metal band Azagthoth. Who definitely earned that band name by being some of the most chaotic and gross death metal to ever come out of the 80s. Unfortunately, they only have the one demo, but fortunately, some nice guy on YouTube actually remastered it from his original demo tape, and it sounds fucking sexy as shit. Or whatever passes for sexy when it comes to this sort of hyper-chaotic, hyper-fast 80s death metal nonsense. Definitely worth checking out if you are into plumbing the roots of early brutal death metal stuff, particularly since the demo itself is only 9 minutes long. I mean, you could spare 10 minutes, can't you? The other half of the creative team that birthed Unseen Terror came from the, I guess, hardcore band. I've seen this band described as fastcore, which is a really dumb term, but it honestly kind of fits what they do. We're talking about Heresy. I mean, to the untrained ear, this is just 80s hardcore punk, but rest assured, it is going to earn that fastcore appellation right here. Okay, that's pretty fast and nasty. It's pretty much just grindcore with cleaner vocals on it. Even then, he's still shrieking and shit. So the core of Unseen Terror is made up of a splicing of those two bands. The drummer is Shane Embury from Azagthoth. Later, Shane Embury, the bassist for Napalm Death. And the guitars and all the other stuff is performed by Mitch Dickinson, who was the guitarist for Heresy. And you end up with something that is similar to Righteous Pigs in that it becomes grindcore by accident. If you were to go get your copy of Unseen Terror's Human Error album off of your CD shelf, well, first, if you were me, you'd be surprised at how fucking big the V section is in your little alphabetical sorting thing. I did not realize how much stuff I listened to starts with the letter V. I would have figured it was a rarer letter, whatever. But you'll notice that the liner notes on the most easily available CD edition of Unseen Terror's stuff are very interesting because they're written by Mitch Dickinson himself. And in these liner notes, he says that the initial idea behind Unseen Terror was playing extreme metal with a very technical edge to it. He says that he wanted to combine the ferocity of bands like Repulsion with the precision of bands like Insanity and Slayer! But he knows that there's also like a major hardcore influence to the sound. So maybe this is an early version of deathcore in that it is death metal and hardcore. Whatever it is, I actually love it. There's been several periods of time throughout the years where for a few weeks to maybe even a couple months, this has been like my favorite album in the world and I've listened to it every day. But at the same time, I do have to warn you about this album. It sounds very weird. The vocals are not what you would expect for this kind of death metal material. They're very like British grumbly, come on England, score some fucking goals kind of thing. And that might be a turnoff for some people. And overall, the sound of it is just kind of weird. The drums are like very cold and mechanical sounding, and they did the guitars by plugging directly into the soundboard, so they are buzzy and heavy, but they're also kind of weird. However, I think the whole package actually works very well. The odd guitar sound actually really helps show off how precise and technical these riffs are for a grindcore band, with lots of hammer-on, pull-off, technical flourishes. Despite most of these being like 2-minute long grindcore songs, there's a whole lot of different just like time changes and sections. Despite that, the songwriting is very tight, with a lot of slickly done transitions like this one where they just kind of repeat the last few notes of a given sequence of riffs before going into a much more chaotic grindcore section. There's the weird vocals I was telling you about. But yeah, it's chaotic but still ordered, and most of that has to do with the fact you can hear literally everything the guitar does. Every weird little flourish or mini scale run inside of every riff is audible because of that bizarrely precise guitar sound. It's incredibly fast, but it's precise and ordered, where most grindcore from this time period is chaotic. Here's another cool transition. I mean, that's a high quality groove riff right there. There's another really interesting weird guitar riff, leading us into another faster section, which is also going to show off another weird aspect of this album, that being the very sparse but noticeable soloing. It's not like chaotic Slayer whammy bar abuse. There is melody to it, but it's just so minimalist. So if you couldn't tell, the main standout of this release for me is the guitar playing, and that's what most of the rest of this episode is going to be talking about. As I intimated earlier, this stuff kind of becomes grindcore by accident. He was going for like really weird technical thrash metal and death metal stuff, but he's just playing it so fast with so much hardcore punk influence that it kind of accidentally becomes grindcore. There's even other bits of different metallic musical genres that show up. For instance, there's a little bit of doom metal to it, specifically during protracted build-up sections like the one you're hearing right now, where a riff will start off with very doom metal slow chords that then resolve into a quicker palm-muted phrase that's kind of chugged out. Interesting way of doing stuff. But yeah, it's going to go into grindcore, and it's going to do so very seamlessly. Despite melding a whole lot of different genres of metal together, nothing on this record seems random or forced when it comes to the transitions. And despite being a lot more subdued than would be normal for grindcore, these vocals do some interesting rhythmic stuff. Like that right there. That would be a hard riff to sing over, but the way he does his vocal cadence makes it work well. In addition to occasional flirtations with doom metal, there might even be a little bit of black metal going on, and not even just during the chaotic parts like this, which resemble modern war metal a little bit, but this cool little tremolo bit right here. I mean, obviously, it's not actually aping Nordic black metal because that shit hadn't really been invented yet outside of Bathory, but those little tremolo flourishes do have some aesthetic continuity with the black metal scene, if you ask me. It's kind of how, like on early Macabre, they got parts that go like, that don't sound too far off from a Norwegian black metal band like Kvist doing something like. So maybe, possibly, Unseen Terror had some unseen influence on later black metal stuff. I know that Fenris from Darkthrone has said that he enjoys the first Napalm Death album a whole lot. Wouldn't be surprised if he was into this one too. But the fact that they can play all these different styles of riffs and still have them all make sense in a song speaks very well of Unseen Terror's songwriting ability, as well as Mitch Dickinson's skill as a guitar player. Especially when he does really cool fusions of old school death metal and old school hardcore. Like, that's a total hardcore punk riff, and it came right after a death metal one, without missing a beat, without sounding weird or random. It's awesome. Speed it up, put another cool, weird, noisy solo over it, and you got what makes Unseen Terror great. The incredible guitar playing of Mitch Dickinson. If you looked at the track listing for this album, you might have noticed something weird. In addition to the songs about shit blowing up or people killing each other, there's a lot of songs about Garfield. I ain't just fool. The best way to explain this is to say that Unseen Terror came out of the 80s crossover thrash milieu, where bands like Wehrmacht were singing songs about Arctic Circle. And I don't mean like the Arctic Circle, something like Black Mighty Raven Dark. I'm talking bands literally doing songs about fast food places like Arctic Circle or Taco Bell. You know, it's just like a goofy 80s thrash metal thing. But honestly, some of the Garfield songs on the Unseen Terror album are like the best songs. You got this really quick number called Garfield for President that normally would just be like a goofy couple second joke song, but they actually managed to give it a pretty interesting musical structure. It starts out with this total crossover thrash Destroyer Worlds riff with a really cool rolling drum beat under it, with some decidedly nasty sounding vocals, particularly given how clean they are in most of the album. Then into Fast grindcore. See, that's what I mean. They have a goofy song about Garfield, but it had a recognizable musical structure to it and some great guitar playing. That's interesting stuff. My other favorite Garfield song on the album is actually the album closer, Garfield Strikes Again, which is sort of the closest 80s grindcore ever got to a Call of Cthulhu or an Orion. It's like a downright epic song, despite the fact that it's only 2 minutes long. It starts out with this really epic kind of heavy metal riff build up with a very groovy drum beat under it, I might add, as they start adding in more and more musical elements before the grindier stuff starts, right around here. It's also got kind of a cool bar chord trick in there. Here it comes again, right here. That's kind of neat, that little octave bar chord jump thing right there. Into sort of a chorus riff kind of right here. It's definitely a very hardcore punk sounding riff. Very catchy. But then watch what happens now. You know, earlier on we mentioned Kvist from Norway. This is almost like something you'd hear on a fucking early Ancient album. This weird little acoustic guitar kind of build up to the very nasty grindcore that comes at the end of the song. That's what I mean when this is very epic in its construction despite its short length. And there's the grindcore to take us out of the song and out of the album and pretty much out of Unseen Terror in general, because unfortunately they didn't do anything much after this. They had like one of those BBC Radio John Peel sessions. They had like a couple rehearsal tapes and that was it. Shane Embury, full-time napalm death for the better part of 35 years at this point. And I don't think Mitch Dickinson has really done anything since Unseen Terror stopped, outside of like some guest appearances with Cathedral and Nazem here and there. Damn shame, because man, is that guy ever a talented guitarist. Hope he's doing well, whatever he's doing nowadays. Haven't seen him in a while. But speaking of seeing people, I hope I see you guys for the next episode. Thanks for listening.
I took the Lindbergh, baby. I am Joseph Mingala.